Greetings, Admirals, and welcome back to UA Dreadnoughts, and actually my second attempt at recording this episode. I had to go on Sunday, it would have been, and yeah, it didn't go very well, mostly because I'm partly because I was tired, but also, yeah, I don't know. I was just not braining very well. Did we... That's new. Are we on the wrong aspect? Yeah, why has it... Okay, that's weird. That's weird. Don't know why it did that. I didn't change that. Okay. No, don't exit to my menu. So, what happened was I got about half an hour in and recorded a couple of skirmishes and realised that I just sounded tired and rubbish and not very entertaining, and the fights weren't very entertaining, so nothing much interesting was lost. I stopped at the point where this popped up, though. We have a battleship versus battleship fight. A couple of enemy cruisers thrown in as well, so we'll see how this goes. And hopefully I can be slightly more entertaining. Hopefully. We shall see. There might also be some cat in the background. It's been wet today, and Sam always turns into a little chaos gremlin when it's wet because he wants to go outside, but he doesn't if it's raining, and so he takes that out on me because clearly I'm the one that controls the weather. Yes, I know, Sam. I was just talking about you and how you think I control the weather, but I don't, sadly. That would be quite the trick here in the Hebrides. You'd charge people to have it be nice and sunny, or wait until they've put their washing out. You could set up a nice little extortion racket, couldn't you? It's a nice lot of washing you've just hung out there. It'd be a shame if it suddenly became all wet and drizzly and windy. You know, unless you happen to lose a tenner in front of me, and you know, then it absolutely would be guaranteed to stay nice and sunny. Yeah. Probably a good thing that I don't have magic weather controlling powers, all in all. Although it might please Sam if that was the case. So, don't know what else there is to... I probably had some stuff in mind that I was talking about on Sunday, and then I've totally forgotten what it was, but... Yeah, I don't know. I just have random things in my brain at the moment, like I was looking at the local organisation that does cat adoption. It used to be there used to be volunteers for Cats Protection League, which is a national charity in the UK. But for some reason, CPL decided they weren't going to have a presence in the Western Isles anymore. So all the former volunteers decided, well, screw that. We're just going to keep doing our own thing, and they keep doing all the cat adoptions and you know, posting information about strays and whatever. That they are where I got Sam from, and I've got some a spare litter tray that Sam doesn't like using. It's a low-sided one, and some bits of food that he decided he didn't want to eat as well. So yeah, I contacted them and said, would you be interested in this food? And oh yeah, and a bag of spare litter tray, cat litter as well. So yeah, I contacted them and said, would you be interested? And they said yes, but yeah, around about the same time they posted, usually they post a lot of kittens. They do a lot of kitten adoptions, but they do adult cats sometimes as well, like Sam. And they had this gorgeous ginger female come up, and I am tempted. I am so tempted. I absolutely cannot afford another cat, but I am so tempted all the same. Really, really lovely looking cat. And the reason why it's a bit tempting more than just it's a lovely looking cat is one of our family pets when we were growing up was a female ginger, and it's a really rare combination. Well, I say really rare. It's an uncommon combination. It's comparatively unusual. Mostly it's boy cats that that are ginger. And it was to the point where Biscuit, the cat, the family pet we had growing up, was sometimes mistaken for a boy just because, you know, it was really quite unusual to see a female ginger. We also had a turquoise who was as big as a tom, but again, female cat. A queen, to use the parlance, and yeah, she was mistaken for a tom on more than one occasion by vets as well, just because she was she was really large. She was a big cat. You would look at her and just on size alone, you would say, okay, that's a big old tomcat. But no, she really wasn't. I've got a photo of her somewhere. I'll see if I can dig it up and stick it up on screen. So it's one of my favourite photos I ever took of her lying with her head on a computer mouse, because she would. A bit like Sam does sometimes. He doesn't come and lie on my desk often, but Ash far more often would. She would come and basically lie next to the keyboard while I was using the PC. So yeah. I mean, we had other cats as well, but those two... Well, I suppose Ash more than Biscuit. Biscuit was just kind of like the queen of the household. Ash I had a bit more of a personal bond with, as one sometimes does when you have a group of cats. So we had two others as well. A semi-feral called Tigo and... what's the phrase? But, you know, like a grey stripy one called Sesame. And Tigo especially was quite standoffish. She would tolerate you sometimes, but she was definitely not a lap cat. And Sesame was a little bit odd in the head. A nice enough cat, but yeah. She actually lost half a tail to a near miss with a car. And after that she ended up having... I assume it was like phantom limb, because she would paw at the space where, you know, the bit of missing tail was, kind of thing, so... Yeah. I'm not seeing these battleships yet. It's just this light cruiser, which I don't know if this light cruiser is scouting for them, but yeah, anyway. So that was a random trip down memory lane, but yeah, seeing this ginger female cat really reminded me of Biscuit. And I am so tempted to say, you know, I would absolutely be interested in giving this cat a home, but it would not be the smart move. It really wouldn't, and I'm sure there's now going to be lots of comments going, do it anyway, get the kitty. I honestly have no idea how Sam would feel about another cat, though. As far as I know, he wasn't brought up with other cats or anything like that, so potentially might not take well to it. Some cats really do just do better on their own. I mean, you can get cats to live together, but it takes a bit of finagling. Some cats will just naturally get on together better, especially if they've been kept together as youngsters. I mean, you don't have to look at Atam's two cats and the way they cuddle together. Which is another temptation. Getting another cat would be double the cuteness, right? Although also potentially double the nonsense. Sam's latest thing is my landline handset, and yes, I know, for goodness sake, I have a landline in 2022. What am I, octogenarian? But I do. And for those that don't know, which is a real possibility, I suppose, God, that makes me feel old. If the handset's knocked off the cradle, it starts to make an increasingly loud noise to tell you that, you know, it's been knocked off the cradle and that the line is open. And Sam discovered that, and discovered that it will make me get out of bed and stomp angrily through to deal with it. So yeah, that was fun. I now have to put my phone on the floor in the evening so it doesn't knock it from a height. He hasn't figured out the knocking it off the cradle thing. I think it's, as far as he's concerned, it's just having knocked it to the floor rather than it making the noise once it's knocked off the cradle. But yeah, I don't know. One furry chaos gremlin is quite enough to deal with. Could I manage two? Oh, it was a cute cat though. Right, I'm talking about everything but ships. I don't know. This is... At least I'm managing to string some coherent sentences together, unlike Sunday. I think we'll have to jump forward a little bit here. I really don't know where these enemy battleships are. I have no indication. I mean, we don't have RDF technology to tell us where things are. It really is only the nearest smoke report that you're ever going to get. So that's obviously the light cruiser. Let's try going off in this direction and yeah, see if we run into anything. Well, I'm about ready to give up on this. Absolutely no sign of anybody. They do not want this fight, which makes me wonder if their battleships are heavily damaged. Well, no, not heavily damaged. One of them was kind of damaged, moderately damaged. But no, we never caught sight of them or the heavy cruiser. No idea where they were. Did we do more damage, or is it just counting the victory points from the fact that they ended with more damage even though they went into it with more damage? I have no idea. That should have been a draw, really. Don't know why it's counting that as a win. Oh well, so much for that being a more interesting fight. Absolutely was not the more interesting fight. Was not even really a fight. But we also have a convoy, which is being threatened by raiders, and I only have a battleship to defend, so let's see how this goes. This should involve a bit more action than a brief glimpse of a cruiser and then nothing. So we know their cruisers don't have torpedoes, but their torpedo boats obviously do. So they are going to be our priority. It is interesting that the AI can decide, no, I don't want to fight, and if it has the better speed, then it absolutely can dictate that's what's going to happen, especially at this tech era where you don't really have particularly good long-range spotting, and of course you don't have anything even close to radar, which allows you to engage things at tens of kilometers away, as opposed to things popping up next to you at single digits kilometers away. Right, saying head east. They're not starting off that close. I mean, there's always that random element, and I don't know how it decides how close the two opposing sides are going to spawn to each other. But we've slowed down to ×5, so we're getting really close now. You only get to ×3 when you're right close up. I don't think it really ever forces it below ×3. There's the light cruiser smoking. You know, one of the, there we go, torpedo boats there. So that's our main concern. It's these two torpedo boats. Obviously, we don't want to let anybody get close to the transports. But yeah, the torpedo boats are certainly the main concern, in that if the battleship goes down, the transports will be undefended, and that will be that. So that is another torpedo boat. Just check. We're not that close yet, but let's be cautious. Don't want them to... yeah, only 17-inch torps, but you know, only. They're still potentially enough to cause real difficulty. And these are actual full-on destroyers rather than torpedo boats, so they do have their own smoke as well. Oh yeah, I forgot they have that wacky forward, completely unnecessary barbette. Yeah. Why put a barbette there? Why not? Somebody had a job lot on barbettes, clearly, and decided that that's exactly what they needed to do, stick them on the destroyers. Right, doing some damage. Nothing too catastrophic. That is enough to get them reasonably close to flooding out. If we can get one more flooding hit towards the aft. Oh, let's not get too close though. This other one is getting a bit cheeky. Yeah, that's not going to be... I don't know how much of that is red compartments. It looks pretty bad, but that's not enough by itself to sink that. We drop torpedoes? No. This is not going too bad. We just have to really keep a very close eye on that torpedo drop distance. That is the real main threat. And given that we are in a relatively close engagement, our numbers are actually pretty decent for main battery accuracy. Now, one more good hit should finish that off. Hopefully. Well, we've lost sight of one of the cruisers, but I presume it's ahead of that other cruiser there. Oh, flooding at the back. Will this be enough? Only a single compartment. No, they're pumping it out already. Come on, little fella. Sink down beneath the waves. You know you want to. Yeah, I don't think there's any real chance outside of torpedoes of taking significant damage here, to be honest. It's not a stationary target, unless we could, well, not quite stationary, but effectively stationary. No, I think they are completely stationary. Not the tiniest bit of movement. Which, okay, that's not completely stationary, but close enough. It would be nice if you could see what speed an enemy is doing, or at least an estimated speed, because you can see what their top speed is, but you can never see what speed they're doing at any given moment, like you can with your own ships. And even if it was just an estimated current speed, it would be quite useful sometimes. That's why I lost sight of that destroyer. That's fine. We'll actually come in quite a bit closer to these cruisers. And hopefully get broadside enough so we can get both guns going at them, both main battery guns. It does actually feel a little unusual to have a mixed caliber main battery. I mean, I know it was the norm for that era, but in terms of how the game builds ships, it doesn't tend to do that. Whoa, hello, ammo detonation. Not the same as a flash fire, but yeah, they'll have lost a big chunk of their ammo, and obviously it does a large amount of structural damage as well. So it's not as devastating as a flash fire if you get that kind of detonation, but it's still pretty bad. Flash fires will sink your ship. Ammo detonations will do enough damage to make you want to withdraw your ship. So, I actually managed some good hits on the ISIS as well, apparently. That destroyer's out of sight. I hope they're not going towards my transports, because it's not like I can exactly chase them down. I have a considerable speed advantage. Okay, the fire's coming from off in that direction, so I think we're good. You actually managed to pen the aft belt armour. I suppose it is relatively thin. Come on, put them down. Got them bang to rights. Another flooding, another fire. Now this is of course going to be, you know, Egyptian goddess Isis. But the word has taken on other connotations these days, really. Depending on the context, of course. But in this context, it is very definitely the Egyptian goddess. Almost done. There it goes. Just leaves Comus. Now, I don't know if is that going to be another... But it sounds like it could be some kind of Celtic god or goddess, I don't know. Or it could be referring to a person. It is interesting that I've never really thought about it before, but obviously the Royal Navy has a really long history of reusing ships' names. And I've never really thought about it, but where does that come from? When did that start? I mean, it's not just the Royal Navy, other navies do that as well, of course. So is that just a thing that navies started doing for their warships just because, or was there some particular navy that started off that trend and other navies were like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Right, if it's off towards the east, then it's booking it away from the transport, so we'll just click end battle. We're never going to catch a speedy little destroyer. So there we go. 3 ships sunk. Not bad. Click next turn. We can probably start some more refits going as well. We get from July into August. Comfortable points lead. Oh, okay. Ships. Well, I mean, they still have a speed advantage, so they can still run away, but it's not quite as big as with their light cruisers. So, here it is. We don't know what it is yet exactly, which ship, but yeah, they're not shying away from the engagement, so we'll see if we can just keep closing the distance, and hopefully our 13-inch guns should do something. We actually have up to a trained crew on this battleship, so that is a very slight positive to the aiming, which is nice. Although it's only barely there, but it's better than the alternative, which would be a penalty, of course. What's the armour like on these? Reasonable main belt. Don't know if that would be enough to handle a 13-inch gun at this angle, but I guess we'll see. Managing some minor hits, a minor hit. Single fire set by a single 4-inch shell. I think this might end up being a rather inconclusive one. I think it's just going to be them pulling away from us and it being increasingly inaccurate fire, unless we get a lucky hit and disable an engine, which, you know, could happen, but it really is down to RNG. Well, what I thought was going to happen has happened. They just ran. We did a bit of damage, but nothing too serious. You can actually see on the screen. Yeah. Barely a scratch on both of them, so oh well. Oh, one thing I do have to remember to do, and it was pointed out to me in the comments, that yeah, on the, was it the fleet screen? This checkbox here, which is supposed to auto-replenish your ships, every time you load the game, it unchecks. So yeah, I've not always been remembering to do that. So you can end up with ships that are sailing around without 100% crew just because you've got to do that. So yeah, that's a bug at the moment, apparently. So let's set some ships refitting. Some of our many battleships. And we'll do a couple of cruisers as well. That's all that's left of the cruisers, I think. Gosh, we have so many battleships! We haven't actually lost any yet, either. Right. We have battleship versus battleship. Destroyer versus... Well, let's take the battleship versus battleship first. That one apparently displaces a bit more. I guess we'll see if that translates to being any extra capability, armor, firepower. I'm pretty sure we have met their battleships before. Yeah? Yeah, we have. I'm thinking they have 10-inch guns, if I remember correctly. Oh, there we go. I have to be a little more cautious. Can't be quite as gung-ho as I was with those light cruisers. If nothing else, their battleships do have underwater tubes. So, yeah, I'll have to be careful about that. That's not a bad looking ship, I have to say. Certainly less idiosyncratic looking than this hull. With its weird sort of semi-tumble home superstructure. Sort of tumble home, but not really. They didn't quite fully commit to it, unlike the French. Oh, it's 12-inch guns. Okay, venerable. And kilometer side mount torps. Okay. Always important to note the location of the torp tubes. Right, I would like to keep my front turret in play, but this is probably not a great angle, so... Oof. Ouch. Okay, that was main belt penetration. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Stuff like that. That is an engine knocked out. That's a perma-flood in that compartment. That's going to slow us down quite a bit. Yeah, that was a nasty knock. Right, well, let's hope we can give as good as that. This does feel like a slightly unrealistic confrontation, but a lot of the randomly generated ones do. We've got, like, the single battleship that apparently was just floating around on its own, waiting to be ambushed by groups of enemy destroyers or whatever. Yeah, it's a bit peculiar. No, I need to remember, click on that, don't click on the ship, click on the thing at the top. Because if you click on the ship, quite often just nothing happens. I want to keep a sharp eye on that torpedo tube. So far that one hit was the main bit of damage. Okay, destroyed the secondary tower. Bring this torpedo out. We do have a broadside, but it's against our smaller gun, so... There's the torp. Oh god, can we turn? Even at our very slow... Yes, that's going to miss. Okay. That is fortunate. I really want our 13-inch gun to come into play. But that would absolutely put our armour at an unacceptably bad angle. And they've clearly... The AI's judged it's worth the risk giving this much broadside. Because it's normally... Like, the AI is normally quite savvy about angling against you. But, yeah, no, in this case, they're not caring so much. Maybe it's sophisticated enough to go, hey, that's a 10-inch gun, that's less of a threat. Let's actually, let's just go in gung-ho regardless of what bad things might happen. Ooh! Main tower hit, that's nasty. That's going to affect our gunnery. Yeah, they've got 42% and we've got like 18% right now. 22% on the 10-inch gun. That torp tube's going to be reloaded soon as well. Yeah, that was unpleasant. The whole rear of the ship is not looking good. Come on! He's angled terribly. Give me something, RNG. The ship is at point blank. We have better crew. Right, that's the torpedo. Come on. Ah, we're not going to dodge it this time. We are just going way too slow. We might lose our first battleship in this engagement. Oof. Do you have more torpedoes? Yes, you have more torpedoes. Of course you have more torpedoes. Oh dear. Oh well. Well, faster, and they have a more sensible turret arrangement. This has worked out quite well for them, sadly. Our rear turret is still operational, right? Yes. It's hard to tell with that massive red. Well, I like, it could still go our way, but we just have. Why are you firing high explosive? Fire AP! Point blank, fire AP. No wonder it's not penetrating their belt. Goodness sake. Oh, that's nasty. That's very nasty. It's nearly in the arc of our 13-inch gun. But by the time he gets another torpedo out, this battleship is going to be done for. So unless we somehow just, like, detonate them, we are well and truly screwed. No, that didn't do anything. Dearie me, they've massively outdamaged us. Oh well. Yeah, the refit of these ships really can't come soon enough. Although having been worried about torpedoes, they're now drawing away for some reason. If that had been player controlled, they would have just stayed the course, launched that last torpedo and ensured the win. Our accuracy is so bad right now. And minus 50 from damage instability. Also, apparently this counts as rough sea waves, cloudy weather. I mean, it's overcast, but I wouldn't have said it was going to be cloudy enough to massively affect things. Honestly, the way they do the weather system at the moment, like some things okay, like the sea state, are going to affect the kind of the visibility or the not visibility, but you know, your ability to accurately aim at an enemy ship regardless. But things like the time of day and the amount of cloud, like unless it's complete thick pea super fog, if they're at close range, that really shouldn't be a penalty at that stage. That feels like it should be a penalty over a certain distance, but even at point blank range it counts that full penalty. So that requires a little bit of tweaking, I think. That's a bit too unsophisticated right now. Because if you're close enough to spit at their deck, you shouldn't still have that same penalty as though you were firing at them at the edge of visibility kind of thing. That just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I really don't know why they didn't just finish this off with the torpedo. This could be over already. And instead they've pulled back to where we now basically have equal accuracy. I don't know if all these hits were high explosive against the broadside, and that's just why I wasn't doing that much damage. Right, it's... God, that's so cheesy! But if it's going to give me the option to do that, then we're going to save the ship. It's so cheesy that I could do that. 100% cheese. Could have been far worse in terms of victory point loss. Right. Let's try this. This is going to be destroyers. I don't think we've tried destroyers before. We've definitely tried torpedo boats, but I don't know if we've tried destroyers versus a group of their ships. We'll give it a go. This might just be throwing away some destroyers. But given that we have smoke available, we may actually get lucky here. And of course they don't have any torpedoes for me to worry about. Right, so let's have the first group smoke up. We'll try and bracket them. This is the heavy cruiser. We know there's a light cruiser there somewhere as well. So they can still hit me in the smoke. Right, there's the light cruiser. Slow things down a bit. And we have... It's only 1 kilometre an hour destroys, isn't it? Yeah, it is. One of the issues with the destroyer design it gave me. 2 and a bit minutes left on the smoke. Come on, go for it. Get that torpedo launch in. Right, tiny little hit. And they're actually bumping into each other. That might be... You know what, let's set the light cruiser. Come on, drop the tops, drop the tops. There they go. Oh. Right, Calcutta, you should be screwed. Man, absolutely boned. Right, let's set that first group back to... What them? Oh no, too late, he's already put his torps out. Where are you? Need to get you up alongside. These guys are now reloading their torps, so we can actually peel them away, and their smoke is going to run out soon anyway. Oh, you still have the torpedo. Nice. I mean, it's... Did you just reload that quickly? Maybe. See if the Argonaut takes this, or are they going to be able to maneuver? Right. And we still have smoke available on this group, so this is why splitting your groups up like this so you can alternate smoke is useful, because they'll tend to concentrate on one enemy at a time. And so by the time they've switched fire, you can then have smoke ready on the other group. And that obviously then makes it much harder to hit them. Right, this is going to turn out to have been rather successful. Speed things back up. Keep on that course. There we go. Smoke up. Right. Oh, that's not nice. Destroyed. Okay, just one of the tubes. Just the rear tube. Right, probably want to be firing your torpedoes sometime soon. That one's out all together. That's only got 1 torpedo left. Come on. Do it. Torps away. Making the turn. They look good. They look very good. Bam. They both hit the rear section, so that limited the amount of damage. But they are now taking on some very heavy flooding. And in theory this means we can land the torps from this destroyer that much easier. Oh, ammo detonation. Yeah, you are boned. Yeah, the damage from that combined with the torpedo. Bam! There we go. You definitely have to micromanage stuff like that a bit. Yeah, that was way more successful than torpedo boats would have been, just thanks to having smoke. Basically, as soon as you can start to think about like just retiring, dumping your torpedo boats, you probably should. How many have I actually got at the moment? I wonder how many crew I could free up. I mean, at the moment, I'm even building torpedo boats. I did that last time, didn't I? Yeah, I'd be better off building more destroyers than torpedo boats. Why should I build more torpedo boats? I don't know. But I guess we'll let them build and just not bother building any new ones after that point. They really are just like cannon fodder. Right, Battleship versus Terrible. This was a continuation of the last fight. Probably a similar outcome. Actually, it wouldn't be Terrible, it would be terrible. But in the sense of Ivan the Terrible rather than the sense of, you know, rubbish. Because English is funny like that. Right, well, there they are again. I suspect this is going to be a rerun of last time. Although, having said that, good grief, what happened to you? That wasn't damage from the last fight. They took relatively little damage from the last fight. That's some other encounter, I guess? Oh, well, okay, this is not going to be like last time then, clearly. Especially as their engines are completely knackered, along with their steering. Yeah, we just need to get close and let her rip, basically. Well, we've managed to get a hit in and cause some flooding and fires. I suspect they'll run out of structural integrity before they flood, though. I mean, the red compartments will permaflood if we can get them, but yeah, fires are going to be draining away the structural survivability, you know, the hit points, essentially. Although they are putting them out. Okay, maybe it will be the flooding that does them in. Just because they have so many compartments where if they flood, they cannot repair, they cannot pump it out. Let's adjust course slightly. Slowed us right down so we have a bit of a accuracy bonus. We still have some penalties though. Again, things like you know, morning and overcasts at this close range doesn't feel like it should matter that much. These things feel like they should definitely decrease a lot, depending how close range you are. Trying to fire at somebody 25 kilometers away, then that's absolutely fine. Trying to fire at somebody that's like, what is this, 3 kilometers away, I mean, that's practically point blank. Well, I think we're in the terminal phase. It is actually flooding that's going to do them in, after all. As it turns out, yeah. The crew of my battleship really took their time with that one for some reason. Wow, 2,000 victory points for a single heavy cruiser? Really? Okay. That feels generous. Should just check. I'm just noticing these things where we're losing some transports. I mean, overall, we're doing pretty good. Yeah, finances are still absolutely fine. I could even put some money into building some extra yard capacity, but is the campaign... that's probably worth doing now. Like, it takes a while. It's the maximum size of ship that you can produce rather than overall capacity. I did wonder that if it was going to be, you know, the maximum tonnage that you can construct at once, but no, they haven't done it that way. No ETA yet on when we're going to get the next hull technology, so we'll see. There's a couple of things that are coming reasonably close anyway. Cruiser design, so that's going to be extra 500 tons for heavy cruisers. Destroyers are a couple of months away from 900 tons. Small guns. Mark III 2-inch guns, not the most exciting. And some other stuff that's a bit further out, like turret mechanisms, shells. Anything else interesting? 17 months on rangefinders. Okay. Right, what else have we got? Task Force. CL versus CA. We haven't fought too many French ships so far. It's mostly been facing off against the Royal Navy. Okay. I will have definitely the capability to run away. But I have a faster ship of my own to at least try and keep them spotted. Oh, it's the Aegir again. Or Aegir. I can never remember how one pronounces that. Right, we can actually have our destroyer do a bit of scouting. And see if they can spot them. Well, again, we have a runner. Been going for a couple of minutes. Still at ×10, so we're nowhere close. Yeah, even going at 32 knots. We're not spotting anything, so I think we'll just save time and click and accept the draw on that one. But we do have one other thing we can do before the end of this turn, and I think before the end of the video as well, which is this light versus heavy cruiser fight. We do have smoke and we do have torp, so we'll see if that is enough. I don't actually know what the capabilities of their heavy cruisers are. We've seen the British heavy cruisers plenty, but this might be my first encounter with a French heavy cruiser. Well, I am curious to see what we are up against. We've got our side-mounted torps, 7-inch guns and a whole bunch of secondaries. It's the torps that are going to be the main knockout below deliverer, if that makes any sense. I've actually played with this hull a bit myself. I did mention in that first one that I'd done a France 1890 campaign, which was quite fun really, if not just for the extremely wacky looking hulls that you get access to. Right, so we kind of want to wait until we have positive confirmation as to whether they have torps or not. Yes, they do. They have kilometer torps at their side, so just doing a drive-by side, you know, like broadside to broadside is probably not the wisest move. You're actually going to give me broadside, right? We're almost going to be ramming each other at this stage. This is not how I wanted this to go. Oh, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong. But it's fine. We've just given each other some mutual love. Right, well, I thought I was more manoeuvrable than that, but no, they were absolutely not going to give ground. they went up to me just as hard as I was going up to them, and yeah. Light cruiser versus heavy, tonnage for tonnage. They could survive the hits better than I could, so oh well. Now we know better. Loss of a light cruiser is not the worst thing in the world. Points-wise, we've really closed the gap, though. We might have to start building some new things. Anyway, that is it for this episode. Hopefully, it was actually somewhat entertaining. Last week was quite rubbish for videos and sleep and mood generally, but this week's a bit better, not just because I've been looking at pictures of cats and thinking, what if? What if I had more furry chaos gremlins? Anyway, I'm sure there might be some comments to do with that down below. Quite possibly. So, if you enjoyed this, you can do all the usual things under the video, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.